subsidies under Obamacare. The president called it a payoff to the insurance industry. Why do you and your fellow Democrats oppose doing away with that?
So this is the equivalent of a healthcare arson. He is literally setting the entire healthcare system on fire just because the president is upset that the United States Congress won't pass a repeal bill that is 17% of the American public. These subsidies going to the insurance companies help very low-income people afford insurance. And without the subsidies, there will be many people who won't be able to provide insurance and afford it. And the other set of subsidies that go to individuals to access coverage will actually increase, meaning that the deficit goes up, the amount of money that we spend overall in the Affordable Care Act goes up, because all that happens is the payments that used to be going to insurance companies now get substituted with increased tax credits for individuals to afford the coverage. The fact of the matter is the president is trying to sabotage the American healthcare system, trying to put a gun to the head of our constituents by taking away their healthcare or raising their costs in order to force us to repeal a bill that the American public doesn't want us to repeal.
Arson, guns to the head. This is pretty strong medicine in terms of the rhetoric. I remember after Gabby Giffords was shot, we all wanted to tamp down the rhetoric and the use of these kinds of imagery and metaphor. But let's move to, in fact, the atrocity out in Las Vegas, where authorities are still investigating and trying to find the motive for this deadliest mass shooting in American history. We're just 2 weeks away from that sickening event. Do you sense that the momentum on Capitol Hill to enact legislation to restrict gun ownership rights in some form or fashion, perhaps the bump stocks, has already subsided?
I think there is willingness to take on this very narrow issue of bump stocks, which allow you to take a semi-automatic weapon and turn it into an automatic weapon. But I do think you're seeing the same pattern play out here. Thoughts and prayers from Congress, a little nibble of interest at legislative action, and then we go back to the status quo. Listen, I just think that we can't continue to pretend that our loose and lax gun laws don't contribute to the rate of gun crime in this country. Nobody should have that kind of powerful weapon to be able to kill 50 people in a period of 10 to 15 minutes. Nobody should be able to turn that kind of weapon into an automatic weapon. The vast majority of gun owners in my state support common sense gun restrictions because they don't need those kind of weapons to hunt, and they don't think that criminals should be able to buy weapons.
Would you be willing to accept mere regulation of this bump stock issue through ATF instead of congressional action?
My worry is that the ATF didn't do it in 2010 because the law is actually ambiguous. And so I think if we all agree that people shouldn't be able to turn these weapons into automatic weapons, then let's just pass a law through Congress. I think that it's a punt for Congress to tell the ATF to do it when we know that the underlying problem is that the statute itself is very unclear on this matter.